Good. Thank you
I'm
guys
hearing in
to
Dallas.
be here. Well, good evening first. We have a good, big group of people. Yeah, let me see, admit. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first section of the Unlocking PSP Study Group. My name is Nelson Torres. Um, Really, I'm so happy to have all of you here. Based on this chat, we have 50 people around the world. It's not only US. It looks like we have people from different places. If you don't mind going to the chat and introduce yourself, in that way we start to know each other. I will explain a little bit how we will work, how the study group will start to work, and let's go in that. I have been working in this study group for a while. Basically, that initially start as an internal initiative for me to help my coworkers to go the certification prep step. And after that, some people asked me to open this course, or no course, I don't want to call this a course. I want to call this really a study group, to open this study group to more people, not only for our company. And that's the thing that I start to do. For that reason, I opened the website and create this whole study group. The study group on all the material is built based on the official ASIS material that I have by myself. I bought the material. Um, all that material is copyright. I don't pretend to give that material to everybody. Basically, the information that you have in the website and the information that we will provide here is based on our own interpretation of the material. Is the official material. I believe that is a good information, but we don't pretend to be a ASIS course, or this course is not approved by ASIS, okay? I have been working with them to try to get well, last week they called me to asking me to be a preferred partner for them, in which we can provide CPE credit with this study group. But it's a working process. At this moment, it's not approved. I want to be clear with everybody that is no an official training for a ASIS. It's a study group that we want to share information, we want to share experience, and my hope is that it will be beneficial for everybody. Um, we have other people that is helping me with this study group, and we have some mentors. Today, probably all the course, or not the course, the study group, we will have Alan. Alan Patterson is, I'm so happy to have him with me with this. He have a lot of real world experience, and a lot of knowledge that he can share with us. He recently worked as the A&E regional. He was a A&E regional manager at ASIS Communication. He also taught about security system technology at Mercer County Community College in New Jersey. Alan is a certified CPP and PSP from ASIS, and have more than 25 years of experience with Sony Electronic, where he worked with imaging technology in video, medical, broadcast, and security fields. We are so lucky to have him here to help us with today's material. And in few minutes, I will pass him the lead. He will be leading this section today, but I want to explain a little bit how the study group will work, okay? Before we dive in deep in the domains, today we will try to, before this study, the study group, or basically the domain and tasks, are based on the ASIS PSP certification framework. But we want to provide you some information about the PSP certification, what is the framework, before going to domain 1, task 1, and task 2 today. There is a lot of information that we want to cover today. I'm not sure if we can cover everything today that we planned, but we will see, okay? After we go in to understand a little bit more about what is the PSP certification, we will go in deep in domain 1, task 2, okay? After each one of the tasks, we prepare some questions, basically a quiz. And the quiz will be a set of 5 questions that you will have the opportunity to answer those questions through your phone. Be prepared to scan a QR code. You will have a QR code. The QR code will put you in a website, and you can basically answer those questions. And after you answer the question, we will discuss the correct answer of that question. Don't worry about if the answer is right at this moment. Don't worry about to be perfect. It is the main intention is that we can share information, and at the end you will have the right answer. Okay, before now, I think that Alan, you can take the lead. You can share your screen if you have the presentation. You can share your screen and basically lead the presentation from now. If anyone have a question, please put that question in the chat, and we will try to answer those questions before the end of the section, or I will take the time to send an email with those questions, with the answer to those questions after the section.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, thank you, Nelson. Thank you very much. So I've had my PSP for, I think, 12 years, I think. And who should apply? Let's look at the first slide here. Let me see. Hold on, Nelson. I just need to share my screen correctly here. Got 1 second. And share content.
Let me stop sharing my screen, and you can share your screen.
Yes. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. So yes, so I've had mine I've also got the CPP certification. I've had that for 10 years. There are some crossovers between the PSP and the CPP, specifically with the CPP on the physical security side. That's really what this program is, this class that Nelson and I will be doing. So just a little bit, who should apply for the PSP? It's really designed for anyone who works a lot in the physical security space. And primary responsibilities, if your primary responsibility is to conduct threat surveys, conduct surveys on asset protection, integrated security systems, design and specifying, anyone who does that kind of work in the physical security space should apply for the PSP. What is the PSP certification? Let's just go through the basics here for a second. It actually shows having the PSP certification is a valuable thing to have in the security space. It proves you have expertise in physical security, assessment, systems design, and implementation. It also shows that you demonstrate the ability to conduct surveys, select countermeasures, and manage procurement. We'll talk about all this further on in the presentation, of course. And of course, the PSP is recognized internationally by ASIS International. Eligibility requirements. They're somewhat strict. So without a degree, you need 5 years of experience or 4 with the APP. The APP is the Associate Protection Professional. That is the basic inroads into this world. If you have the APP, then you can get 5 years of experience in the security market. You can get in there and apply. With a bachelor's degree, that's 4 years, 3 with the APP. And with a master's degree, that's 3 years of physical security experience. The test itself, the exam structure. So there are 140 multiple choice questions, typically 4 choices per question. Now, this seems a bit confusing, but this is how they do it at ASIS. 125 of those questions are scored. They're scored questions, but 15 are called pre-test questions. Now, these are questions that ASIS has just released into their pool of questions. Basically, ASIS has a pool of questions where they pull from for different exams. And if you do the ASIS PSP exam on Monday and another guy does it on Tuesday, they don't have the same content. They're totally different. There's a large pool of questions they pull from, obviously, so you can't tell your friend that, hey, I had this question yesterday, you'll probably get it today. No, you won't. So those 15 pretest questions are basically ones they're trying out to see how suitable they would be in the actual exam. You don't know what's your pretest. You just answer all 140. Now, the pretest ones, obviously, they are testing them out. So maybe when the examination board sees that everyone gets the same answer and every answer is wrong, then something is wrong with that question. If it's the same choice each time and it's wrong, or there's some other pattern they don't like. So the pretest, if they pass their pretest, they go into the pool of questions. Duration of the test is 2.5 hours. So you've got 2.5 hours to do 140 multiple choice questions. A little bit of advice. If you're stuck in a question, don't dwell on it. Move on to the next one, because right at the very end, when you're finished with the question number 140, you can go back and fill in the blanks or even change your answers if you don't feel confident. So don't dwell on it. You only have a limited amount of time for 140 questions. Do the ones you know, get through it. If you're not sure, it's better to leave it alone than just to guess. So leave it alone. At the end of the test, go back and think about it some more. In the PSP exam, there are 3 domains covered. There are physical security assessment, design and integration, and implementation. Those are the 3 domains that we cover. Now, domain 1 has 5 tasks, and that accounts for 34% of the 34% of the actual exam is domain 1 physical security assessment. So 34% of the questions will be on this. The tasks are planning, asset identification, threat assessment, vulnerability assessment, and risk analysis. And the focus on domain 1 is identifying and analyzing threats and vulnerabilities and suggest countermeasures. And we're going to, the way that Nelson has designed this is really nice, because it goes from a high level and then comes all the way down to drill in deeper into the actual subject matter. So right now, this is still a bit of a high level part. Domain 2, system design integration, that is 35% of questions will be on this. Knowledge areas, the tasks would be define requirements, select countermeasures, and system design. This is probably the most physical security part of the PSP, where you get to talk about and design actual product.
That's right.
Knowledge.
I think. Sorry,
Go ahead.
Alan.
Yeah,
I think that
go
is
ahead.
so the most important, not the most important because everything is important, but really is the design is in domain 2. Okay, when you are thinking about what you need to define a security system, what is integration? We talk in this domain about access control, video surveillance, intrusion detection system. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Nelson. And the knowledge areas include CPTED, it's pronounced CPTED. It's crime prevention through environmental design. It's a concept that was brought up by a gentleman named Oscar Newman, who wrote a book called Defensible Space. And it's all about having spaces that are secure based on their natural design. So open spaces, lighting, there's no dark alleyways anywhere, that sort of thing. We're going to delve into that deeper later. Also includes electronic security, data management, power, and transmission. Next up, domain 3, implementation. 31% of questions will be on domain 3. The tasks, there are 5 tasks: bidding, procurement, installation, personnel support, and system monitoring. This is where you're going to get into RFPs, RFIs, all those things that you would do in the bidding part of the project. The focus is on managing vendors, integration, training, and system maintenance. A little bit more about exam logistics and fees. Testing can be done, and I'm talking about the US here, if there's anyone international outside the US. Testing is done via Prometrics, a testing service, and it can be in person at one of their facilities. If you're in a location where you don't have one, you can do it via ProProctor, which is a remote way to do the test that you can do at home yourself. If it was my preference, I would actually do it in the testing facility. There's no distractions. They even give you headphones. You're sitting in front of noise canceling headphones. You sit in front of a screen and you do the test. I think it's a nice environment to do the test, but that's just me. The fees, $580 for ASIS members, $910 for non-members. So it behooves you to join ASIS if you're not already in there. It's not cheap, but it's an investment in yourself. Think of it as an investment in yourself. In the unlikely event that you don't pass the PSP, the retake is $480 and lower for emerging markets. Nelson, I don't know. I don't have much information on the emerging markets, unfortunately, but and I don't know which ones they are.
Yeah, they call emerging markets some kind of countries or different places that for ASIS, they don't have the means, okay, or less means, and they have a different value, or they need to pay a little bit less. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, preparation and resources. It's very important to know the resources you have to help you study and pass the test. The key resources are the POA physical security volume. So POA is protection of assets. Nelson, can you still see my camera? I can't see myself.
Yeah, I can see your camera.
Okay, so this is the POA. It's it's about 700 or 800 pages, but it's all it's all arranged very easily. And the presentation will refer to various chapters and pages of the POA. I would recommend you buy it because, believe me, you're not going to just be rid of it when you're done with the test. You will keep that as a reference. It's a very good reference book.
Yes.
Cost is, I think, Nelson, about $150 from ASIS for the hard copy.
Yeah,
and it's also,
and I think that is. I would like to reinforce that if you have the opportunity to buy the POA, it is a good resource. Okay, most of the information in this study group is coming from the POA. I also have. Let me see. You can see, yeah. another book here. Three different books more that I use it for my preparation. But the POA is the most important. Most of those books are referring to the POA, and most of the questions that we have in the quiz coming from the POA, and the answer, the thing that we try to do is write the question and write the answer and refer that answer to the section of the POA or any other book that was used in the material to prepare the study group. I encourage you to buy the POA if you can, okay? Because it's a good resource.
Yes, absolutely. And it's also available as an ebook format too, which is nice because you can search within the ebook a little easier for specific terms. And if you're traveling, you don't have to lug around 800 pages with you wherever you go. So that's another option too. Some people prefer hard copies to highlight stuff, which you can do in the ebook as well, by the way. But some people just prefer a hard copy. Also available as a resource, the ASIS standards and guidelines. Those are free downloads for ASIS members. Study is also available via ASIS courses, chapters of self-assessment tools, and practice exams are available online. I actually like the idea of practice exams. A lot of people don't because they say, well, none of these questions are ever going to appear in the exam. Maybe true, but it will let you know what you don't know when you do some of these practice tests. And it does encourage you to find out the answer. So even though the specific question may not be in the test exactly worded, it's still a very good learning tool in my mind. Yeah, so that's for that. Now, when you've passed your PSP after the exam, in the old days, you used to get a nice heavy-duty paper certificate. Now it's a digital certificate that you can print yourself on nice heavy-duty paper. Recertification is every three years. You have to earn 60 CPE credits. It's typically an hour of credit from ASIS, and you can log in and do a lot of their online discussions, 1 hour training and teaching and principles. You'll find those on the website, on the training section. And they're typically an hour at a time, and you get one credit for every hour you do. Now, you can also earn credit by volunteering for ASIS, doing a little teaching. You can get credit for going to trade shows, you know, the ASIS, the GSX trade show, ISC West, all those other security related shows. You should be able to get credit. You just have to submit the documentation.
Richard,
I would go
sorry.
ahead, sorry.
Sorry, Alan, I think that Richard had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I don't.
No, it's quite all right. Yeah, thank you for catching my question here, because it involves the materials. Because I've already started doing some studying, and I noticed that the PSP study guide kind of condenses a lot of the information from the POA. Now, I don't think that negates reading the POA, but in your experience, would you emphasize more time on the POA than the study guide, or both equally, or what? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I would say the study guide gives you like the high level bullet points, and then you can dig deeper into the POA to get more information. I think you should really use both in conjunction with each other. That's my recommendation.
That's what I thought.
Nelson?
Okay.
Yeah, you agree, Nelson? I don't think Nelson hears me.
No, I'm good. Yeah, I think
okay,
that you should use both, okay? When I did my PSP certification, I have the POA and I have those 3 huge books. One of them was the study guide. But yeah, I read all of them and tried to get a little bit from all of them. It's the thing that you have in this study group on the website is a summary of all that information. Probably if you get all that information, you have a good chance to pass the test, okay? But I will recommend to have the books.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Okay. A little bit more on the recertification. Don't wait till the third year and you find you have 10 credits and you've got 50 more to get in that year. Try to get at least 20 a year, maybe more, so that you've got a little buffer zone. Because once you submit your everything to ASIS, they have to look at it and they may reject some of them depending on what they think. So make sure you have at least 60 credits, try and get a little more, but don't take 3 years. Don't on the third year, just start doing it. Try every year to get at least 1 or 2 a month, and that should get you in the ballpark. So that's what I recommend. And then once you have your PSP certification, you then are obliged to adhere to the ASIS Code of Professional Responsibility. So with that, if there's no questions on the basics of the PSP and what it is, I'll continue with delving a little bit into Domain 1, Task 1. So Domain 1, Task 1, developing a physical security assessment plan. This is the nuts and bolts of everything we have here. This is the bedrock. Nothing meaningful can happen in security without a solid assessment. And this is where it all starts. So let's get started talking about this. Why does it matter? It is core to physical security strategies, absolutely the core. Without having this plan, you're basically guessing, which is never a good idea. And it's not just theory, it's how you ensure business continuity. I'm having a hard time speaking, and certainly continuity, thank you. And real world protection. It has to support regulatory compliance. There are certain regulations. Think in the healthcare field, if you have any HIPAA regulatory compliances to do. And it drives risk-informed decisions. So it's about protecting what you can't afford to lose, basically, before asking how to do it.
Yeah, I think that it's important here to keep in mind that you need to really identify what is the thing that you want to protect. It happens frequently that people go in any assessment and start to build a solution without knowing what is the thing that they need to protect. They have their own interpretation. They don't ask the stakeholder. They don't ask what is the critical assets, what is the thing that they need to protect. They start to think, okay, yeah, I'm here. I need camera for this, or I need the best solution for this. When really the core is that you need to think about what is the thing that you need to protect. That is the most important. What is the critical assets?
Exactly. And we'll be talking a lot about that in this presentation. And there it is. Identify your critical asset. If you don't know what you're protecting, there's really no point in coming up with a plan. So you've got to identify your critical asset. You choose the risk model, and we're going to be talking about this in subsequent slides, so don't worry too much about risk models. We'll be discussing that. Apply qualitative and quantitative tools. We will talk about this. Qualitative is basically, for instance, I'll say we have a low, medium, or high risk in an area or in a particular location of a building based on hurricane preparedness or high crime area, something like that. That would be qualitative if you said there's a high risk or a medium risk or a low risk. Quantitative is numbers driven, data driven. So quantitative would be there's a 48% chance of high crime in this area if you had that statistic. But obviously you have to drive that with the correct statistics. And also the key knowledge areas that we'll work on will be aligned resources and standards. Critical asset. As Nelson mentioned, this is why we're doing this. What is a critical asset? It could be tangible or intangible. Tangible being something you can touch, see, and feel. It could be a building. It could be computers with inside the building. It could be vehicles belonging to the company, anything tangible. Intangible is something that you can't touch or feel. It is something like intellectual property, company reputation, your patents. That kind of thing is intangible. It doesn't really, you can't feel it. But if it gets lost or damaged, it could have a major effect on your business operations. Critical asset also should be essential to core operations. Whatever will stop your business from performing correctly is essentially a critical asset. And any critical asset that you lose will have a significant impact on your business.
Yeah, I would like to add here some examples. For example, when we think about critical access, many times people think about an asset is a building, is a facility, is maybe a substation, but also a critical asset could be something that is not tangible. Okay, let's talk about Amazon. A critical asset for Amazon is a website. If they don't have a website, they don't make business, because their business is shop online. We need to have that kind of mindset that a critical asset is not only a physical, tangible thing. It could be a reputation. If somebody of any company lost reputation, how that reputation will hurt the company. How it will be a hospital. If the hospital lost data, and what happened with that? Okay, keep in mind that the critical asset will be only tangible and intangible assets.
Agreed. Thank you, Nelson. Okay, how to identify critical assets. You can look at org charts and workflows that will identify stakeholders that would be able to assist you in identifying critical assets. No one knows better what those assets are than the people who are department heads or of those assets, and or of the company that controls those assets. So conduct stakeholder interviews. Perform a business impact analysis. Explore the domino effect, if you want, with the business impact analysis. What other areas of business will be affected if you lose your critical asset? Think of a line of dominoes. If one collapses, they all go down. What will be affected outside of your critical asset by that failure? And of course, very important to review a loss or incident history. History will tell you everything you probably wouldn't need to know about that particular facility or building and what its history has been with recent losses. Valuing assets. So there is obviously a replacement and recovery cost, but also bear in mind that a hard drive may cost $200, but if the data on that hard drive is lost and is critical to your business, and you don't have a good backup plan, that is data backup, then that is, you can't put a monetary value on that. It's very difficult. Operational disruption. What will happen when your critical asset fails or stops working? What operational disruption will happen? Legal and compliance risk. What if you are with some of these failures that you have on your hard drive, or data is leaked somehow, then what legal and regulatory fines might you be imposed with if that happens? And of course, reputational damage. That's your intangible, one of your intangible assets there. Reputational damage is very difficult to get back, because that is something that people remember. So you have to avoid, but at all costs, reputational damage. That is quite a critical aspect, and definitely a critical asset. So we spoke a little bit, or I mentioned a risk assessment model before. So this is an explanation of the risk assessment model. Basically, we have outside inward, and I'll explain all these in detail. Inside outward, site specific, and functional discipline discipline specific. Outside inward model, that is really from the attacker's viewpoint. So this model would, you would look at this, and the inner area is your critical asset that you're trying to protect. You have it protected in a layered system. It's security in depth, basically. You have a perimeter where you may have fencing or some sort of a sensor on the fence. You have the outer area, which may be covered by surveillance cameras or other sensors. And then the inner area asset, which could be protected by access control, locks, and that sort of thing. This is the outside inward. And I had a friend up in New Jersey who used to do this penetration testing as his business. And he was very good at it. And he would do this for a client. And he would almost, at the end, leave his business card in the inner area asset if he managed to get through and then exit. And then he would go through what's missing in the facility, and he would, advise people on what to do. What he found would be what they would work on. So that is the outward inward model. So this is typical testing intrusion pathways. The inside outward model, that's when you have your asset in the center as well. And this is this is also defense in depth, but it's ideal for business continuity planning. So you can see your inner area and then work out from there as to what protection you might need. You may come up with the same conclusion as a penetration test, but the penetration test identifies weaknesses more readily than the inside outward model does. And then there's the site-specific model. This is tailored to the location. So it considers crime stats, weather, and history. That's very important consideration, of course. And it aligns with regulatory environmental. So geography, crime rates, and if you're in a hurricane zone or tornadoes or earthquakes, whatever, that would be a site-specific model based on that location. And lastly, there is the functional discipline specific model. This is where you break all your ideas into subsystems, access control, CCTV, lighting, etc. And you integrate, you look at the best integration plan for all of these. So you assess each on its own, each particular subsystem, and then you make sure they integrate correctly together. And that could be anything like a CCTV camera having facial recognition and allowing access control, or CCTV controlling lighting, access control, triggering something else, etc. All that integration is very important. So back to qualitative versus quantitative methods. Qualitative, as I said, is judgment and scales, low, medium, high, good, bad. Quantitative is data-driven analysis. But you can do a blended approach, which gives you the best of both worlds. Tell the story, then prove it with data. Required resources. You can't do this alone. You need skilled personnel. You need interview time, and very important, you need a budget. You definitely need help with the budget from whoever, if you're doing your own facility or you're working for a client, you definitely need the budget. Floor plans and schematics, definitely needed. Risk tools, software, and cameras. All that is necessary for required resources to perform your plan. Supporting guidelines. ASIS General Risk Guideline, these are all documents available. NFPA 730, 731, that's the National Fire Protection Agency. Those are the guys who come up with the standards for fire. FEMA Risk Series, and ISO 31000 and ISO 22301. Nelson, correct me if I'm wrong, but 31,000, I believe, is the planning, the security plan ISO standard. And 22301, I would have to look that up. But if you know the answer, Nelson, let me know. And if not, I can get back to you on that. But both are ISO specifications for security planning as well as working with interagencies. So the summary checklist. I like checklist because it kind of brings it all together. Identify critical assets. Choose your assessment model, whether in out or out in. Define your methodology. Gather the resources and document the plan. Now, there is this nice cheat sheet too, final thoughts for PSP candidates. Justify the model that you selected. Explain the asset criticality. Understand blended risk methods using your two different types, quantitative and qualitative, and align security with business needs. So on the exam itself, this is final thoughts for PSP candidates. You'll be tested on the terminology and model selection and your ability to explain the various risks. But beyond the exam, it's how you should, show value to your organization or to your client. So if you think about this, what is your most critical asset, whether it's in your home or your business or a client you're working with? What is your most critical asset? What would happen if you lost that asset? So start your assessment plan today. That's where it starts. So Nelson, I think we're ready for the questions.
Yes, I think that if you go to the next slide, it should show you. It's not showing you. Okay, let me do on my side.
You want me to stop
Let me
sharing?
share my. You don't have permission. Okay, let me do. Let me share my screen. And 1 second. Okay.
Yeah. ISO 3001 is a risk management standards.
I want to share this screen. Okay. Be prepared with your. Let me see. I think that I can put the. In the screen, you will have in a few seconds a QR code. Is that work? Yes, it's working. Okay, you have the QR code, or I will copy this link. See, can copy. Yeah, copy the link and paste on the chat. You can do with the QR code, or you can click on the link on the chat and answer those questions based on your best guess. Don't worry about if the question is right. We will give you the right answer. If 5 questions, will give you, let me maybe do this in 3 minutes. Give you time to, because most of the questions on the test are similar questions to this one or to those questions. Very challenging question, it's tricky question. The answer many times are confused. And you need to think about really the question, and maybe in some cases do by discard. Okay, what is the most logical question answer for you? Let me see, it's any way that I can see how many people. Okay, we have 47 from the first one, 49, 51 response. $52, the second one. Okay.
I think we have 100% results back, right?
Yeah, we have 53. We have, yeah, I think that we have a good amount answer. Let's go to the answers.
Do you want me to go through these, Austin?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
I can.
All right. So first one, what are the two primary types of assets in a physical security context? That will be, as we discussed, tangible and intangible. Down at the bottom, we have assets may be tangible, such as equipment or property, or intangibles, just proprietary information or reputation. So that's from the POA, Chapter 1, page 5. Asset prioritization is primarily based on impact on mission and business continuity. It's very seldom you see an answer that has the asset's monetary value. It's always the impact on mission and business continuity. This is quoted from POA Chapter 1, page 6. To the next slide, Nelson. Which of the following best constitutes an asset? Answer C, any valuable item or function critical to operations. Assets include people, property, and processes that are vital to the organization's operations. That's the POA, Chapter 1, page 4. How frequently should a risk assessment plan be reevaluated? After major incidents or changes in the threat landscape is the correct answer.
Yeah, keep in mind that it's like it's like a human being that it can change. Okay, it's not static. You need to evaluate the security assessment every time that you have major changes in your organization.
Yep. So what is typically the first step in conducting a risk assessment? And of course, this is always the answer, identifying critical assets. The first step in the risk assessment process is identifying the assets that need protection. The POA Chapter 1, page 4.
You have the second set of questions. We will have 20 questions in total for domain 1. After that, we can move to domain 2. I think that we still have some time. You can scan the QR code, or let me copy the link. Okay, I think that we have enough. We have 50 response. Let me see the other ones. 50. Yeah. Okay. So with the answers.
Okay. What is the purpose of a business impact analysis, or BIA? To understand operational dependencies and the impact of disruptions. Absolutely. And from the POA Chapter 1, page 9, BIA identifies mission critical operations and evaluates the effect of disruptions.
Yeah, and if you haven't had the chance to listen the podcast, one of the example in the podcast, or they call the business impact analysis, like domino effects. Okay, what happened in one, and with that you lost that access. What is the implication of that in all the other operation? It's a good analogy, I think.
Yep. Okay, question 7. In the outside inward model, assessment begins at the perimeter. Remember, that was your defense and depth, your layered approach, if you want, outside, middle area, and the asset being protected in the middle. So from POA Chapter 3, page 5, the outside inward approach starts from the perimeter and works inward, simulating potential intrusions. Which model best suits a location's geography and crime rate? Yep, it's site-specific assessment, as we mentioned. Tailored to facility type, location, history, and environmental context. POA Chapter 3, page 7. A functional or discipline-specific assessment primarily examines subsystems like CCTV, access control, and lighting. And the description at the bottom from POA Chapter 3, page 8, each security function, e.g. barriers, locks, lighting, is assessed individually for effectiveness.
Okay, be ready for the next set. The link is in the chat. Okay, let's move to the answers. You are mute, Alan.
You are correct. I am muted. Sorry about that. A qualitative risk assessment typically includes expert judgment and descriptor scales. Remember, qualitative is less data-driven, more low, medium, high, very good possibility, that kind of thing. From POA Chapter 2, page 3, qualitative methods apply terms like high, medium, low to describe likelihood and impact.
Yeah, and why the other answer are no the right answer? Because yeah, when we talk about qualitative, it's basically it's not a numerical answer. It's low, high, medium, or I like it, but it's not really a numerical thing.
Yeah, there's less accuracy, and it's very subjective as to what low,
It's
medium, and high
subjective.
is. Number 12, a quantitative task assessment will likely feature answer statistical modeling and cost values. Yep, data-driven with dollars, values, and everything else. From POA Chapter 2, page 4, quantitative assessments involve numeric scores for probability and impact. 13, a blended risk assessment approach offers reduced legal compliance, fast decision-making. Well, the answer is C, it's right there. Balanced insight using both subjective and objective data. So from POA Chapter 2, page 5, a blended approach uses both qualitative and quantitative metrics to improve risk polarization. What role do stakeholders play in the security assessment process? They provide input based on operational insight. Those are the stakeholders, the key players in the organization you're working with. From POA Chapter 4, page 2, stakeholders provide critical information about asset value and operational dependencies.
Yeah, and keep in mind that a stakeholder is not only the security director, okay? You should include human resources, you should include IT, you should involve all the people that is involved in the operation, okay?
Just so you know, there's a big thunderstorm coming through my area, so I hope I don't lose power. Which of the following is not a recommended risk? Now, this is important to look at the question. Sometimes if you see something that says which of the following is not a recommended risk, you actually skip by the not part. And you look at the answers and you answer A, C, or D, which would be correct if it wasn't not. So be careful, read the question. So the answer, of course, is centralized, decentralized. That's not a recommended risk assessment. And POA Chapter 3, page 3 to 9, not listed among ASIS defined risk models. Centralized, decentralized is not listed among ASIS defined risk models.
Yeah, that is good. It's important. Read the question. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I go back. Okay. This is the last set of questions for domain 1, task 1. Let me copy the. Okay, you have the link in the chat. Okay, it seems that we can move to the next one.
All right, what should you always review when identifying critical assets? Past incidents and interdepartmental dependencies. Absolutely. Past incidents are a very good indicator of where you should go with identifying a critical asset. From POA Chapter 1, page 6 and 7, asset criticality can be revealed by reviewing incident logs and interviewing department heads. Which risk assessment methods helps assign a dollar value to risk factors? Remember, quantitative, think quantity, think numbers. It is quantitative. And from POA Chapter 2, page 4, quantitative models rely on values like dollar cost and probability percentages. What can compromise the success of a qualitative assessment? Inconsistent descriptors or scales. Because as we said, Nelson and I were just saying that the idea of low, medium, and high, or is subjective. Maybe high to some people is more of a medium to others. So it gets you in the ballpark, but it's inconsistent descriptors or scales is the answer. And from Chapter 2, page 3 of the POA, lack of standard definitions or terms like high and low can reduce consistency. Why should security logs and access records be reviewed in a risk assessment to identify activity patterns and vulnerabilities? So from POA Chapter 4, page 4 and 5, historical security data can reveal trends, usage, and gaps in protection. This is the one that I messed up you guys with. I apologize, but which standard is considered a global benchmark for risk management practices? It is ISO 31000. ISO 31000 provides international standards for risk management systems and processes. POA Chapter 2, page 2.
With that, we end domain 1, task 1. I want to respect the time of everybody. We have 1 hour. The plan for today, it was domain 1, task 1, and task 2. But we can, I don't know, Alan, if you are available, but we can continue, we can stop here. And next week we will cover domain 1, task 2. That basically domain 1, task 2 is a reinforce of the information from domain 1, task 1. It's a little bit repeated, that information.
Right.
Let's see, we have a question here. People. Chat.
I mean, I think we can catch up next week because the task 2 goes fairly quickly, I think. So instead of having everyone, I think most people have an hour limit on online presentations.
Yeah,
So,
that's good. Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Nelson.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you, Alan.
I can hear you.